Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Beyond the Ink. My name is Jordan, and in this series, we will take a one-on-one trip with a special guest every episode to determine what makes them tick, what makes them who they are as a person, beyond just who they are as a player. For this first episode, my guest is none other than Deep Blues' own Dr. Prodigy. How you doing, man?
Doing good, Jordan. Thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So let's jump into it.
All right.
And start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your childhood.
So my childhood was very interesting. I got started off with gaming right off the bat. Actually, some of my earliest memories is playing on an old NES, Nintendo Entertainment System. Growing up as a kid, I don't really remember it this much, but apparently my dad would always say that I asked to play it too much to the point where he got so mad he sold the system. Ironically, he sold it to, at my time, my best friend's family. So I would just go to my best friend's house and play it over there. So it didn't really work out that well. And a couple like Christmas that year or something like that, he ended up getting us a Nintendo 64, and so we would do that. I'd play that instead. But my dad also works with computers, so he would have his work friends come over, and they would bring their old giant CRT monitors and their giant like towers back in the mid 90s, and they would play like Doom together and stuff like that. I was never allowed to watch because obviously my parents didn't want me, like a 5-year-old, like seeing Doom. But there was a couple games that they would let me play, and so I'd often sit on my dad's lap, and he would let me use the mouse to like aim around and look around with the mouse while he would use the keyboard and stuff like that. So I was introduced to gaming very early on. That, to be perfectly honest, is probably one of the few like good, like positive memories I have about my childhood. My childhood wasn't necessarily like super like, I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it. Basically, my mom had a condition called multiple sclerosis. For those that don't know, multiple sclerosis is a disease that's a lot like Parkinson's, where you don't have a lot of control over your body and stuff like that. And she had a very bad case of it. It was a very progressive case of it. So it got worse and worse over the years. And she had it before I was born. But that took a very strong toll on our family, and especially my dad. My dad took a lot of blame for that himself, even though it wasn't his fault at all. He just, it eventually got to the point where he was a single parent because my mom was living in a nursing home and stuff like that as we grew up. So gaming kind of was a kind of the one thing that I had to kind of get away from it all and everything like that. So video games have always been a very big important part of my life, and so those early memories are really strong because that's the kind of like what made me kind of realize what they were all about for me.
Okay. You mentioned that like your dad and his friends were into Doom and games like that. Obviously, that's not suitable for a 5-year-old.
No.
What was your like main entry into the gaming franchises that you've been exposed to?
So the one game apparently that I used to ask to play all the time back on the NES was the original Legend of Zelda. I have, it's so hard to remember, but I basically have just very, very vague memories of just walking around, not even knowing what was going on, but just listening to the music and just walking around and having full hearts and like shooting your beam sword and stuff like that. Like I remember that. I remember when I played games with my dad. We had this game called Descent, which I don't think a lot of people have actually heard about this game, but there's a couple of them, and I think they actually did a reboot of it semi-recently. But that game was a computer game where you were in like some sort of like spaceship type of thing, and you had like dungeons, and you had to like move around and shoot like enemy robots while like collecting like keys to unlock doors and stuff like that. Honestly, like somewhat of a Zelda at the time, basically just a game that was a bunch of like Zelda dungeons, only just in a completely different world. And he would let me play that game because even though it was like shooting and stuff like that, there wasn't any blood or anything like that. It wasn't, it was very robotic. So it wasn't too bad. But honestly, like besides Descent, it was basically like all Nintendo. It was either the NES, playing Nintendo games with my friends. When we got the Nintendo 64, we played Diddy Kong Racing together. So stuff like that. I've always grown up pretty much almost exclusively on Nintendo games.
Okay. Would you say you had a competitive streak as a kid?
Not in gaming, actually. A lot of the games that I played personally just to like, I would play them a lot and I would get good at them, but just because I actually enjoyed them, it wasn't something that like I really want to like compete in. I think one of the earliest memories I have, in terms of like competition with games was playing Descent. One of my, as I mentioned earlier, one of my dad's friends, coworkers would come over, and one day he let me play Descent against one of his friends. And I remember just getting like really into it just because it was the first time I actually got to play against someone else rather than just like, playing like the different levels. And that was such a cool concept to me that I could play against another person. Like that wasn't really like a thing in my mind at the time. That was, something that I could do. So, I was having fun like playing against like this adult that I'm not supposed to beat, and I would kill him sometimes and stuff like that. And I'd like get all happy and stuff. And but other than that, I really wasn't that competitive when it came to gaming. I played some sports growing up as a kid, so I was competitive in that aspect, but never really with gaming when I was really young.
Okay. But you did eventually get into competitive gaming later, so tell us
Mhm.
a little bit about that, specifically like Halo 3 and League of Legends.
Yeah, okay. So like the games that I seriously started getting into competitive wise, as mentioned, was Halo 3 was the first one. I really enjoyed the Halo games when they first came out, but I never was able to afford a system of my own, so I'd always play at like a friend's house or something like that. And it was a lot of fun, but it was like I was really good at the game, but it was never anything where I had the time to just like sit down and grind it out and play a lot and get better. Around my 16th birthday, I was able to save up enough money to get my own Xbox, and I got Halo 2, and I started playing a lot of Halo 2. But it wasn't until Halo 3 that I was just like, okay, I think I'm actually like really good at this. And I heard about these really cool things called Major League Gaming, and they do these events, and oh my gosh, it's on TV. They have Halo events on TV and stuff. I was like, oh wow, this is like really cool. Like people actually like compete in this. Like I'm good. I want to compete in this. Let's do this. And so I would start grinding it out. And the first event that I ever went to, the first MLG event that I ever went to, was after I graduated high school back in 2009. Gosh. And that was at MLG Columbus. We got destroyed. We had to basically we played the first round of winners. We lost pretty hard. We played the first round of losers the next day, and we won that, but like just barely. And then losers round 2, we just got like destroyed again. It was a very humbling experience because I thought at the time like I was amazing and that like I didn't think I was gonna win or anything like that. But I was just like, okay, like I think I actually have like a decent chance to like go pretty far. I could make it deep in this and just get like destroyed off the bat. Just like, oh my god, like these guys are on another level. But at the same time, it really invigorated me. It's just like, okay, like I finally found an example to like work off of. I was like, okay, there are these other better people. I can learn from this. I can watch these people and get better. There's a great side story that's not related to competitive gaming that happened at Columbus that maybe I'll save for another time, or if we have time later, I can talk about it. But it is one of my favorite stories to tell of all time. But another good story was League of Legends. So League of Legends was a game I started getting into when I went to college. Around the time that I started college, League of Legends was in beta at the time. And a couple years into college, it's important that I mention what college I went to. I went to Michigan State University.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one player, League of Legends player, that also went to Michigan State University, and his name is Hai. And I knew Hai and his brothers from high school. We went to the same high school together. And they one day were just like, hey, like the one brother that I graduated with that was the same year as me was just like, hey, you should check out this game. It's called League of Legends. It's really fun. It's free to play. Like, sure, I'm down. Whatever. Like, cool. I'll check it out. I had played a little bit of Dota back in Warcraft 3, so it's like I knew a little bit about what League of Legends was kind of like, and we started playing that. And I remember playing with Hai. We would play in tournaments with Hai and his brother Bao. And I remember thinking like, holy crap, this guy Hai, he is insane. Like I don't get it. Like he's like incredible. Like this is absurd. Why am I playing with this guy? Like he like, he would micromanage everything. So League of Legends is 5-on-5, and all 5 people have completely different roles for the team to like win. And he would micromanage everyone. He would be like, okay, how's it going over here? Okay, make sure you're doing this. And team finance, he would literally call out when for us to use abilities and stuff like that. And it blew my mind that this guy who was like a couple years younger than me just could absorb so much information and just like spit it out and like literally turn someone that was crap at the game like myself into someone that could beat good teams. And by good teams, I don't mean like any professional teams or anything like that, but teams that are way above my skill level regardless. Mm-hmm. And so one day we were talking about it, and he was just like, I don't know, like I was talking to Hai. He's like, I don't know, I kind of want to go pro in this. Like there's an opportunity, like I think I could do it. I'm just not sure, I'm not really sure. And I was just like, look, you are way too good at this game to not be doing this. So not even at least give it a shot. Like you're young, you're barely, like he was about to graduate high school and go to Michigan State University too. He was a freshman year. He was a freshman at Michigan State University. So it was his first year of college. I was like, look, you're only your first year of college. If you want to give something a shot, now is the time to do it. So I was like, I'll tell you what, I'm getting my tax return this year, and it's going to be a big one. How about I buy you a streaming computer? So a computer that you can stream yourself playing League of Legends on and make a name for yourself. And summer's coming up, so just stream all summer long at the end of summer. If you got an opportunity, cool. If not, whatever, like you gave it a shot. And yeah, I'm investing the money, but like, if you make some money doing your streaming thing, you can pay me back. And he was like, okay, cool, let's do that, like thanks. And like we got that done. We got him a computer. He started streaming all summer long. And to kind of make the story shorter, by the end of the year, he was sponsored. He was playing in Riot's qualifier tournaments at the very beginning of the LCS. For those that do know about his story, he failed the first time, but made it in the second time. And the whole Cloud9 organization was all Hai's idea. Jack is the owner and like everything like that, but Hai sold Jack on the idea of Cloud9. Cloud9 was Hai's, like the name, Hai's idea. The team, Hai's idea. All of that. So I'm not going to say that like I made Cloud9. Like I'm not that, naive or anything like that. But I definitely will say that like I saw something there and I pushed it. I honestly pushed him to try to go out and pursue it. And I ended up getting returned in spades. Not because of money or anything like that, although he did pay me back and then some a little bit, not like an extravagant amount, but he was very, very nice and thankful for the opportunity that I was able to provide for him. But I actually met my wife because Hai turned into a professional League of Legends player. How I met my wife was actually in Twitch chat, and we were both a mod for Hai's stream. That is legitimately how I met my wife. So without going and competing in League of Legends, I would not be married today.
Well, there you go.
Yep. So,
do you still talk with Hai at all?
Not so much. I still talk to his brothers. The one brother that I graduated with, I still talk to fairly. I would say like every couple months, I still talk to him. Hai was always. He's very, very nice. They're very off. Like that entire family, their entire brothers, they're very off-putting. But once like you actually get to know them, they're actually like very nice and generous people. So like when Hai was like in the area, in the New York area, for competitions or stuff like that, and I would like hit him up and just be like, hey, like I know you're in the area, like you want to like meet up somewhere or something like that. He'd be like, yeah, sure, like let's do it. And, he would be very nice. But once you get to that level, you're just so busy that like, and he had just all this entire new world going on for him and everything like that. That's just like, I knew his brother Bao way better than I ever knew Hai. So it wasn't like we were ever that close to begin with. It just so happened to be that I was in a position to kind of help and push him to pursue something rather than being like really good friends. So I still I'll still go to a stream every so often because I'm still a mod there, and I'd be like, hey, how's it going? And he'd be like, oh, hey Jackson, how's it going? Because Jackson's my real name. So like we're still on a first name basis and everything like that. Like he recognizes who I am, but it's not something like we hang out or anything like that.
Well, that's awesome. I guess it's time to talk about something else that happened during college, and I presume that is when you pursued a science background?
Yes. Yep. So science was something. So my name being Dr. Prodigy, I am pursuing a PhD, aka that's like a doctorate. Some people like to call me a fraud because I technically don't have it yet, but that's details. Science was something that I fell in love with very early on in my schooling and stuff like that. And college was like my undergrad at Michigan State University was a very up and down experience. My freshman year there, I got a chance to work in a lab, and I absolutely hated it with a passion. It was like, oh, turn this nozzle, wait 5 seconds, then turn this other nozzle and wait like 5 minutes, and it's like, if you screw up, you waste hours of time, and it's dead quiet. No one else in the lab is like talking, and it's like just this very high pressure scenario. I felt like, and it was awful. And how I was basically taught was like I got showed how to do it once, which would took like an hour and a half to do this one thing. And the person that was teaching me was like, "Okay, hope you wrote all that down. I gotta go do it again." I was just like, "Are you kidding me? Like I'm 18. Like I feel like I'm gonna screw something up and cost like hundreds of dollars of waste or something like that. Best case scenario type of thing." So it was very very stressful. So I was kind of like, for a while there, I was like, okay, I'm in college, I'm pursuing a science degree, but apparently I don't like actually doing science. So what am I supposed to do? And what ended up happening was I actually got a scholarship at the end of that year from the National Science Foundation for $19,000 over the next 3 years of my schooling there. So I had this opportunity to keep going to college because like honestly my family was in such a tight spot with our family scenario with my mom and my dad being a single parent by that point that that scholarship literally made it possible for me to keep going to school. I was like, okay, I'll stick it out, like I'll keep trying to do the science thing, maybe I'll find something else, because like you don't have to just work out of bed to do science. Like there's a lot of different other things. And what ended up happening was my last year at Michigan State University, I was able to get a job in a different lab. And this lab's legitimate purpose was to cure puppies of blindness. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. That was the research they were doing. They were trying to cure puppies of blindness. I was like, this is amazing. That's so cool. Like, I'm actually like legitimately trying to work on something relevant rather than just like turning a whole bunch of knobs in a quiet area. And the environment, everyone in the lab was super friendly, they were talkative, and it wasn't this high pressure environment. And I kind of realized like, oh, maybe I actually do like this. Maybe it was just a bad experience my first time. And that's what really kind of motivated me to end up applying for graduate positions, and that's what I've been doing since then.
Okay.
Mm.
What do you do now in terms of like a job or career?
Okay, so yeah, I am a graduate student right now. As mentioned, I just finished my 4th year. I'm about to go into my 5th year. To try to explain it without going super technical and throwing out jargon and stuff like that, I basically study immune cells that exist only in the brain and how those immune cells interact with stem cells that only exist in the brain, both in a healthy brain and in people that have suffered a stroke. So that's like the overall topic. My actual day-to-day thing, it's honestly like very hard to describe without actually getting a chance to like provide some sort of physical example or anything like that, because it varies a lot. Every day is a completely different day. You could be doing an experiment and through the course of doing that experiment, what you're actually doing can be like all like over the place. The best way to really describe it is when you are being a scientist, it's not just about doing like one exact thing over and over and over again. At least if you're being trained well. If you're not being trained well, you'll basically be told just do this one thing over and over and over again. Awful like 5 years of your life. But you have to be constantly learning. You have to be constantly pushing yourself to try to do new things, to believe that you have the confidence to try something for the first time and just go out and do it and not be afraid of failure, because you are going to fail, especially in a world like science where you're trying to figure out unknown things, right? Science is basically at its core trying to find truths in a world of the unknown, seeking out new information. So it's a lot of pressure, but at the same time that, if you fail 99 times, but that one time it does work and you've learned something new, it is such a great, great feeling to just know, like, I figured this out. No one else has figured this out. I figured this out. That is so cool. So, so cool. But yeah, it is a crap ton of stress going through those 99 other failures. So, honestly, like, that's the best way I could describe it. The only other ways I could think of describing it would be incredibly boring and dry and dull. And I don't think anyone wants to hear that right now.
No.
No.
But that's a lot of wisdom that you've seemed to have acquired over the past several years. What is one thing specifically that you've learned that you feel others around you or just in general could benefit from knowing?
Honestly, basically the one thing that I kind of take away from all this is that it's okay to fail, as I kind of already touched on. It's okay to fail, but don't compare yourself to others. I have a really, really, really bad habit of constantly comparing myself to my other coworkers in the lab. And we're all working on different projects. And as part of working on those different projects, we're all doing different types of experiments. So it's a really, really, really crappy feeling to have your experiment not work and then see your coworkers' experiment work, and they get all this new data and they're like sharing things and stuff. And you have to go tell your boss, well, my experiment didn't work, so I literally have nothing new to tell you. And other than that, it just didn't work. And it made me feel like I was a bad scientist. It literally made me feel like I am bad at my job and that I'm not doing what I should be doing or could be doing or anything like that. And it took me a really long time to like kind of learn that I'm doing this to improve myself, not to compare myself to others. Like, yes, some people might use that as a source of motivation, but there's a difference between using that as a source of motivation versus actually genuinely grading yourself and like making your confidence basically be based around someone else's actions, right? It needs to be centered around yourself. Find motivation in what you're doing, and that's good and all, but be confident in yourself to realize that it doesn't. Maybe I am worse, or maybe I am better. That's not what's important. What's important is actually pursuing something that you genuinely want to pursue and focus on that, not what others are doing, but what you yourself are doing.
Okay. Once you get your PhD, say 5-10 years from now, where do you see your career?
Oh God, I hope it's not another 5-10 years from now.
Well, I'm just saying,
I know,
once
I
you
know.
get it,
I know.
et cetera, yeah.
Yeah. So actually, one thing that I really want to do is after I get my PhD is never be in a lab ever again. Which kind of sounds contradictory, but I actually really want to do policy. So I have a belief that science is important in every aspect of life, including policy. So that's, policy can even be something as plain as making sure people know what kind of, flu is going around or anything like that, all the way up to the big, U.S. government levels and, Supreme Court levels. What really made me interested in policy was a couple years ago, the United States Supreme Court listened to a case between a genetics company and a group of people. That's usually how Supreme Court cases go, as some sort of group of people versus like a single entity. But the central question in this court case was, can you patent a human gene? And for those that don't know, gene is basically a group of DNA inside of us that is like the instructions for encoding something. So, if you have blue eyes, you have a gene that tells your eyes to be blue, essentially, right?
Mhm.
So, the company was trying to patent that, to basically say, we own the rights to this gene, and any work or testing of said gene you have to pay us for, and nobody else can get the rights for this exact gene. So for me, that's a very interesting question, right? There's a lot. Yes or no matter what the answer is, there is a lot of meaning or consequences for that decision. And you ultimately need people that have this high level of education to be able to understand those consequences and then turn around and accurately, portray and explain those consequences to people. So, for example, I could sit here and be like, oh, well, if you let a gene be patented, then you're letting this company have exclusive testing rights using this exact technique, using reverse PCR, and you're going to include retrotransposons and all this stuff. Like, I could just throw out all this jargon at you that basically you would just be like, I don't care. Like, I literally don't know a word you just said, right? But if I turn around and said, oh, well, if you let this company have this patent and they're the sole exclusive people to be able to test for this, there are going to be more people that will die from breast cancer because they can't afford to pay the price, this company's price of this patent, right? By having a patent, you have to pay more, right? And I was able to explain that to you. You understand the consequences of this decision without speaking any of like the big science jargon terms, but you still need someone there that understands all the science behind that to then translate it, right?
Right.
And that's where policy comes in. And that I find that aspect very, very interesting. I find that very, very important, especially in a world of medicine these days where we are getting into stuff like stem cells and cancer, new worlds of cancer treatment and stuff like that. We need those people there that can actually explain it well, and I feel like that is something that I would have a talent.
Okay. Now let's talk about your science streams,
Mm-hmm.
because there are times where you stream about different scientific topics.
Yes, I do.
What are these? Why were you inspired to do them? And I guess, how do you decide what topics you cover?
So this idea started, oh my gosh, back in, I want to say like around October of 2017 now. And I kind of woke up one morning and I was like, wait a second. I was just in C9 Mango's Twitch chat for 4 hours last night, and people were talking about different science topics, and they had like no idea what they were talking about, but they were like super invested in it and were really getting passionate about it and stuff like that. And I was like, there's a market for this. There's actually people on Twitch that are interested in these various current, world affairs or current events, science topics that want to talk about it, and they're talking about it in C9 Mango's chat, and Mango doesn't understand like 75% of the words these people are saying, and he'll admit it, for the record. he'll admit that I'm not just like randomly slandering him or anything like that. And I realized, well, if I want to be able to communicate to people about science, why not do streams where I just talk about science for an hour or two? And that was like the very, very basic idea that I formed initially. And then as I kind of started thinking about it and kind of pitched this to different people, I turned it into, okay, instead of me just like doing a lecture, because that's boring. Who wants to like turn on a Twitch stream and they're like, oh, I'm going to go listen to this guy lecture me about a random science topic? I was like, no, that's not what Twitch is about. That's boring. No one's going to want to do that. Instead, what if I made it where I could do like a 15-minute brief introductory type of thing, and instead of throwing out terms and jargon and trying to teach people, it's basically just kind of like a recap of like, if we're going to talk about this topic, what you need to know is what's happened in the past like 5 years or something. Basically, something very, very brief and just kind of like umbrella. So like everyone's starting at the same point. And then from there, just do discussion. People can talk, people can ask me questions. And I get a chance to help people learn more about these topics that they want to learn about. But I also give people a place to actually have discussions where people can talk about it with the right information. We're not just kind of like throwing things out there that then they're not sure about, but there's literally no one else for them to like tell them otherwise, right? So for me personally, I really like science, but I hate getting down to the nitty-gritty details. Another hard part of my job is that when you do a PhD, you basically have this whole world of science, right? And there's there's all these different topics. There's biology, there's physics, there's math, there's geology. There's like literally all these different things. And when you do a PhD, you're going to say like, okay, out of this giant world, I'm going to pick this itty bitty little thing right here, and I'm going to study just this one little tiny thing right here. I'm going to study just that and nothing else. And I find that really boring. I was like, there's all these other things out there. Like, why not? I want to learn about those things too. So this is an opportunity for me to push myself, to give me a motivation incentive to like go read about these things. Like, I study brains. So what if someone wants to talk about space? It's like, well, I don't study that, but I at least have enough of an education and a training to like understand how to go learn about that, right? Not that other people can't do that for themselves, but I'm literally trained to like be able to go do that, right? As a scientist, that's kind of like part of my responsibility. So it was an opportunity for me to learn more and practice my communication skills, because again, as I kind of talked about with policy, I have to be able to learn something and understand it, and then turn around and communicate it to people that don't study science and have them understand exactly what's going on. So from there, I did my first one, I want to say back in probably like December-ish, I think. And the first one was just about stem cells, because as I mentioned before, that's a topic that I myself study. So it was kind of a just a comfortable kind of topic for me to kind of get the idea down and the format down and try to figure it out from there. And then what I did is at the end of every show, I let the chat pick what my next topic is going to be. And I say, anything's fair game. Anything that the chat wants to know about, anything that the chat wants to discuss is fair game. So I've done one on autism, and we talked about vaccines and autism, and how vaccines do not cause autism. I just want to be perfectly clear, make my point. Vaccines do not cause autism. We also did one on the effects of anxiety and depression on your actual body, not just the social aspects, but the actual biological aspects that happen in your body. And then the next one that I'm supposed to do is actually about space, talking about NASA and SpaceX. Unfortunately, I've kind of had to put the shows on a little bit of a hiatus currently because I got insanely busy with my job. I'm trying to push out a paper right now. And it's been a very unfortunate situation where that paper was supposed to be done back in like April, but all these like bad things keep happening, which keep setting me back. And it's just been one giant grind going on. And between that and some of my other Splatoon related things that I'm sure we'll touch on later, I simply haven't had the time. I've legitimately had, I think, probably only like 3 or 4 Saturdays where I actually have time to just sit at home in the past 4 months. So there just simply hasn't been an opportunity for me to do that. But it is something that I'm working on to bring back. I really want to bring it back. I had a lot of fun. A lot of people always talk. When I went to Smash and Splash, I literally had 4 different people come up to me and say, "When is your next science stream? I can't wait to watch it." And that was such an amazing feeling to be told that, to have people come up to you and be like, "I really enjoy this thing you created, and I cannot wait for the next one. Please tell me when it's going to be." Like, that was such a great feeling to hear that. So it's something that I'm really trying to make time to make sure I can bring that back. It's something that I do. I call them Science Saturdays. I tweet about it when I do know what's going to be happening, and I try to do them once a month. But like I said, I haven't been able to do one since like February. So I'm trying really hard.
Okay. Real quick, what can you tell us about this paper you're working on?
So oh gosh. So papers, when you do science, research science, you're basically viewed or judged for your quality. It comes down to the quality of your papers that you publish and the quantity of said papers. And your quality is determined by what journal you submit to. Journals have this thing called impact factors, which is basically some sort of ratio that somewhere at some point in time decided, yes, this will make people want to read my journal. And it basically computes how many times the article has been viewed or like cited versus other articles or something like that. I don't know the exact mathematical formula that determines it, but basically the larger the impact factor, the better. So what I'm trying to do about my paper is there's basically one key experiment that just hasn't been working. And if I don't have that key experiment, I have to submit to really low impact factor, basically saying like we acknowledge that this work isn't as good as it should be, right? So if I to give you an example of how ridiculous this can be, if I submit to a journal with an impact factor of say like 1, it's basically going to get cited, and when you cite something, that basically say someone else is reading your paper and using it as a citation for their work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they're acknowledging that your work has been done and we accept that into the scientific body of evidence. If I submit that to a journal with an impact factor of 1, I'll be lucky if I get like a handful of citations. Where if I submit that to a journal like Nature or Science Magazine that literally has an impact factor of like 25, 30, higher, upwards of like 100, that literally means hundreds of people are going to cite this paper and accept it and acknowledge it for the quality of work that it has. So I'm trying to fix this one experiment, but again, to try to talk about this very briefly without being too much jargon. I think a lot of us growing up in school, going through grade school, especially in biology, we were taught that the cells in your brain, once they're gone for good, right? At least that's what I was taught. I'm not sure, Jordan, was that something that you were ever taught in school?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not true. Yeah, we found out that's not true. And my project actually studies that. It turns out that when we're young, we're very capable of making new brain cells. But as we age, our brains are no longer efficient at doing that. We still make new brain cells, but they're just incredibly inefficient. So my project is looking about, okay, we know that there's a process there that makes new cells, new brain cells. And we have some ideas of how this immune cell that exists in the brain, this very specialized immune cell that exists in the brain, how can we use this immune cell? How can we target this immune cell to either like change it to help the new brain cells be formed better or last longer or stuff like that? So that's kind of what my paper kind of talks about. I'm not supposed to talk about my data before it's published. It's kind of like it's not something that you're not allowed to do, but generally speaking, it's kind of like frowned upon because it's supposed to go through like peer review and have others like look at it and judge it and everything like that. But basically, what I am seeing is that the immune cells in our brains have a larger role in this process than we originally thought.
Okay. I guess it's time to switch gears and talk about this one game that a lot of people seem to like, and that is called Splatoon.
Overwatch. Okay.
Fortnite.
Fortnite.
Yeah.
Woo.
All right. So, why Splatoon? Why did you get into it? What made you interested in it? Tell us about your earliest memories in Splatoon.
So, I remember the first time I saw Splatoon was when Splatoon 1 was shown at E3 back in, like, I don't know, what would have that been,
That would have been
2015, something
probably
like that?
2014. Yeah.
2014. Okay, somewhere around then. And I saw it, and I was just like, I have a Wii U. This looks really cool. I was one of the people that bought a Wii U, one of like 5. So I was like, okay, this is really, really cool. And I've always really liked shooters. Like, I've played way too many hours of Halo. Like, Nintendo's finally doing like a shooter. It looks kind of cool. It's got an interesting take. Maybe it'll be good. And it came out, and I was like, this is fun. And then after a couple weeks, I was just like, there's nothing here. You can't even do customs. You can't do PBs with people. You can't voice chat. You can't send messages. Like, there's nothing here. And I kind of dropped it. I was like, it's a really cool concept. It's just not refined. Well, one of my best friends, who I've known since 6th grade, he also got Splatoon, and he liked it a lot more. And his name is Little Sound DJ, or LSDJ, as some people might know him by. And he stuck with it. And after a couple months of the game being out, it got patched, and they added private battles, and suddenly you don't have to just do matchmaking anymore. You can actually get together with your friends and the people you've met online, and select what map and mode you want to play, rather than just being randomly assigned and get stuck with it for 4 hours back then, because back then it was 4 hours. And turns out he was pretty good at the game, and my friend LSDJ was pretty good at the game, and so him and a couple other people who were streamers, or I think they watched this one stream. I think it was Tarlg was his name, BR Tarlg, I think was his name. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I think that's where they all kind of met up. He was streaming Splatoon, and it turns out these group of guys are pretty good at the game, so they make this team, and this team ends up becoming a bigger team, and it's called Squid Squads. And they were specifically Squid Squad Spades. And they realized they were good, and they want to take it seriously and stuff. And so DJ kind of gets a hold of me and is like, look, I still play this game. I know you used to play it, and I obviously used to play like a crap ton of Halo. How about you coach us? How about you help us learn about the game and stuff like that, and use your approach, and because he knew obviously everything that I do is very analytical. Everything that I do is I'm always trying to learn things. That's literally all I've done for my entire life. I literally have not, ever since I started kindergarten, I have not stopped going to school. It is like, when I think about it that way, it's awful. But that's just how I approach things. So he knew that, especially if like a new game, it'd be, I view these things like a puzzle. I view it as like, okay, I have this brand new thing in front of me that people are just now getting their hands on. What can I do with it that nobody else will be able to do? And he kind of pitched the idea to his teammates, and they all said, yeah, sure, whatever, that's cool. And so I became their coach. And eventually then we had a really good team, but we were kind of going through some stuff, and it was like, okay, what do we want to do to be able to be the best team? And they're like, we need this guy named Dude. We knew this guy named Dude on our team, who was also on Squid Squads, but a different part of Squid Squads. I think he was on Squid Squads Diamonds, I think. Diamonds or Clubs, I can't remember. And so originally Dude said no. He was like, no, I don't want to leave my friends. And then we beat them in a tournament. And he kind of just like, so I'm reconsidering. Dude, we beat Dude in a tournament, or like they lost early on in a tournament or something, and Dude suddenly reached out to us again. It's just like, I think I actually do want to like, join you guys. Because Dude, as we now know, is obviously a very competitive person. And that's how I got my start. I was actually a coach, not really a player. I honestly, from a player perspective, I hated Splatoon 1 in a lot of ways. I do not like invulnerability specials. I hated the idea of Kraken. I hate the idea of Bubbler. I do not like the concept of like, hey, I'm deeply out of position, let me just press this button and get out of jail free type of thing. For me, that kind of throws a whole wrench into strategy and stuff like that. So I did not like those things from a player perspective. From a coaching perspective, again, I viewed it as like a giant puzzle of like, okay, if I have to deal with these incredibly stupid things, what's the best way for me to deal with them? it's like in the anime. It's like, okay, you have this stupid, ridiculously overpowered character. How do you beat them? Type of thing.
Right.
So I had a lot of fun with that. But yeah, that's basically what got me into Splatoon. It was basically DJ. If it wasn't for DJ, I'm not sure if I would even gotten into.
And now you work with DJ on Game Set Match and Long Island Splat, but
Yes, I
we'll
do.
talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Real quick, do you remember if that tournament was called Ink or Sink?
We won the first Ink or Sink. That is what we were known for at the time. I think that was the first Splatoon online tournament was Ink or Sink.
It was.
And I remember I still have my my badge on the Splatoon subreddit for being the original like Booyah Battle champion or something like that, or Ink or Sink champion or whatever. And yeah, so I still have that badge that says like, first Ink or Sink winner won or something like that. So even though I was just a coach.
Well, those take me back.
Yes, that was a long time ago.
Oh, it was. Regarding your time as a player, how did that get started up?
So as Splatoon 1 kind of progressed, Squid Squad Space became Bittersweet Gaming for a very short period of time, a couple of weeks. I won't really focus on that. But then they renamed to Team Paradise, and then Team Paradise eventually kind of broke apart. And by the time that Squid Squad Spades had eventually turned into Team Paradise, a lot of people on the team had come and gone. And I was kind of one of those people. I was still kind of around, kind of very, very casually and offering advice to the different players, but I wasn't nearly as hands-on as much. My PhD program had really started to kick in by then. And I was just like, I can't commit to this. Like, I can offer you guys advice here and there, but when I'm saying I'm going to be your coach, I'm accepting a certain level of responsibility that includes in a certain amount of time that I'm going to invest into you guys that I wasn't able to offer to them anymore. So when Team Paradise had kind of died, I kind of stopped being involved with Splatoon for a big period of time. I would watch some tournaments here and there when I knew that they were going on, but that was basically about it. Splatoon 2 comes around, and we see the footage of E3. It's going to be essentially a quote unquote like Switch launch title, like our launch window title, and we see all these new specials, and we're like, wait, there's no invulnerability specials, right? There was nothing there that made people, invincible. One could argue the baller, but like the baller has blatant weaknesses, right? It has a blatant counterplay built into it.
Right.
So I was like, oh my God. And it looked so much better. And it seriously looked like they thought about how to take what worked and improve on it and everything. I was just like, you know what, I'll give it a shot again. It seems like a lot of fun. And I still like, even though I wasn't really involved with like playing or watching Splatoon 1 that much, I was still in some various Discord servers and stuff like that. I was still interacting with people that did still play the game. So once Splatoon 2 got announced, I actually did start playing Splatoon 1 again at the very end of Splatoon. I think what was one of the last Splatoon 1 tournaments was like Rise of the Sharks or something like that.
That was Fall of the Squids, hosted
Fall
by
of the Squids, yes, by
Ink
TV. Yeah,
as it is.
So that was, who played in that? I think that was me, DJ, Rocket, and Danny or Yuned. I think us four played in that.
That was S&D's last tournament, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know if it was like, I don't think we officially entered as S&D, but it was essentially like, oh, did we? Mm-hmm. I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. All I remember is it went awful. It was awful. We did not play that well back then. But of course, like I hadn't been playing the game for like, many, many months by that point. So I don't, whatever. So that was kind of like a big, like, oh man, like I got a lot of work to do. If like I'm going to actually get back into this, like I have a lot to catch up on player. So when Splatoon 2 first came out, I really, really liked it as a player, and I felt better. It felt like it had a more emphasis on teamwork, and I really appreciate those aspects of the game. So it's something that I think Splatoon 2 is a great, great, great improvement on the.
And that's a pretty good lead in to your current team, Deep Blues.
Yes.
How did that come about?
So I went to Squid Storm 2017 in Boston. I went with my team at the time. We were called No Fear.
Mm-hmm.
There is a particularly infamous Rainmaker game on Kelp Dome, No Fear versus Unsung Hero. And that team was me, DJ, and Rocket still. And then our fourth was Hope for this tournament. And we were all feeling pretty good about going in, and we're like, okay, like I don't think we're gonna win. You know, STDX is really good, but we should be able to like at least get like top 8, if not better. And we don't make it out of groups. We end up losing to Unsung Heroes game 5 in that Rainmaker game, and we had lost earlier to Ink Delta, I think the team name was, with Rafa and some others on it. And afterwards, the team was pretty kind of beat up about it. I think Rocket ended up kind of basically, you know, he was around for a while afterwards, but I think basically when we lost at Squid Storm, and I think that was kind of his last kind of hurrah into the game. Looking back at it, he hasn't really been around in a couple months now, and I haven't really heard from him at all. So it wasn't just me; like several people on the team took it tough. And a week or two after Squid Storm, I was basically like, this isn't, No Fear, this isn't working out. I need to find something different. So here is a guy that coached in the first platoon, and basically nobody knew that I existed. No one really knew that we had a coach. And if they did, they didn't really care about it. And essentially my only connection with Splatoon was my friend DJ, who I'm now saying, okay, I don't want to team with you anymore. And I was just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go from here. And what I ended up doing was reaching out to one of the members of STDX, because STDX was, some of their members are in the one Discord server that I had a connection to. So I reached out to them. I was just like, hey, look, like I know I've talked to you guys before, and we hung out a little bit at Squid Storm. What teams do you think I should try to approach? And he gave me some names. I think he said SKR, Spicy Kraken Rolls. He suggested, I think he might have suggested Legacy. I can't remember, but he also suggested Deep Blues. So I messaged someone in SKR, and they're like, nah. They're like, just pretty much like, nah. Like, no, like they wasn't just like, it wasn't like, no, we don't know who you are or anything. It was just like, we're not really looking for anyone right now. I was like, okay. And I end up messaging a guy named Taylor on Deep Blues.
Oh boy.
And I was just like, hey, like, I'm looking for a new team. I played at the recent LAN. So, you guys, if you guys are looking for any more people, let me know. I'd really appreciate it. And he eventually responded and said, like, yeah, sure, like we can do a tryout if you're interested in it. It's like, okay, cool, we'll do that. And I had never spoken to like any of the members of Deep Blues before this. Us as a team, No Fear, had scrimmed against them before, and I think we might have, maybe played against them in a tournament or something like that. But like, I had never talking to like any of these guys, even the SKR people. I never talked to any SKR people too. Like, I didn't know anyone, and I was basically just saying like, hey, what's up? Like, can I play with you guys? Like, type of thing. But at the same time, what I did know is like, okay, I've literally been playing competitive shooter games since 2009, 2008, as I mentioned earlier. Like, I have years and years and years of experience that I can show off to people. And turns out I did a very good job of that. After a week of tryouts with Deep Blues, they added me to the team. And so I've been with Deep Blues since November of 2017.
Wow.
Yes.
It's been that long?
Yes, that long. Over half a year now. Kind of just a few months away from a whole year, actually. So it's kind of creeping up on that year pretty fast.
Uh-huh. So I guess, what is something that you would like to see Deep Blues achieve moving forward?
So basically, we have this kind of phrase amongst the team, and that we are NA's competitive gatekeepers. And what we mean by that is we are a good team, and we know that we're a good team. But basically, if you want to beat the teams above us, like, if you want to beat the Tomo, if you want to beat the STDX, just talking about specifically NA, you have to beat us first. If you can't beat us, like, you're not going to get there. But we ourselves can never beat those teams either. So it's like we beat a lot of other teams, but we ourselves can, like, rarely beat Tomo or STDX. Like, and by rarely, I mean we basically, at the excluding the past couple months, we would never beat Tomo in a tournament. We would maybe take a game or two off them in scrims or something like that, and like STDX would just like crush us. So for a long time, we viewed ourselves as like the gatekeepers, where we were the barrier into like top level of competitive, with we ourselves kind of just barely being kind of top level too. And so a couple months after being around with Deep Blues, after I kind of was like, okay, I'm no longer just the new guy, I've kind of integrated into the team a little bit more. I was just like, look, I remember having this conversation with them after we had a particularly rough tournament. I was like, look, I am 26 years old. I don't have a lot of time to do this anymore. I am not going to sit around and just wait for us to keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. I believe in you guys, and I believe you guys are good. Let's do this. Like, if we actually want to do this, let's do it. Let's not just say we're going to do it. Let's actually do it. And it took a little while to kind of hammer out some kinks, and hammering out some of those kinks led to some roster changes, not because any one particular person was bad or anything like that, but more so because having to really commit to this, it isn't about just playing a game all day, all night long, like some people do. It's more about, when you are playing, are you putting in a certain level of effort that's actually going to make you improve as a competitive team? Is it actually going to make you improve? And it is a completely different mindset that you need to have, rather than just getting on and playing in a tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for us moving forward, I think our mindset has shown, our change in mindset has shown in placements. Before I joined Deep Blues, they also had a roster at Squid Storm 2017. I think they ended up getting 7th. At Genesis 5 in February, after I had been around for a couple months but not really being that vocal in the team, they got 5th. In Beacon, in March of this year, I had started being extremely vocal by then. We ended up getting 4th. And then at SNS just a couple months ago, we as a team got 3rd. So the longer that I've been around from the team, and the more and more that I've kind of helped adjust the team mindset to be more and more serious, I guess would probably be the best way to describe it, our placings have improved quite a lot. And they've been consistently improving at a time. But what I really want to be able to do to achieve moving forward is, I want to essentially, I mean, everyone kind of says this, but like, I want to beat SCDX. And it's not so much like I want to be like the number one team in NA and have this 3-year long reign where basically everyone views us as untouchable or anything like that. Like, no. I don't want that. I want STDX to still be around, and every single LAN, it's us and them, just 2 giant juggernauts just duking it out and just like trading blow for blow. That's what I really want to achieve. I just want to put on a show. I just want to be like, yo, like, these 2 really good teams, they're just going to slug it out, and people are just going to have a blast watching that. That's something that I would find a lot of fun. So that's something that we are kind of aiming for. I'm not sure if everyone has the same kind of idea. I'm sure they would rather just like be dominant and not have any competition. But for me, like, right, I want to have that competition. Like, I want to know that we're playing at our best and have someone right there with us, type of thing. I think SCDX would probably appreciate that a little bit too, to be honest.
Because it's not as much fun when you're always dominating and
like when you have someone that that's on the same level as you and it goes toe to toe with you, it keeps you motivated, right? Like, if you're just beating everyone like flat out, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, every single time, It gets boring. It's like, what's the point? Like, yeah, like, well, not so much what's the point. Like, obviously they're winning things. Like, they go to play, they understand the point, and like going to tournaments and stuff like that. But at a certain point, where's their motivation to practice? It's like, well, there's literally no one that's going to beat us, so why even practice, right? There's nothing there to help them stay motivated to keep pushing that boundary of getting better and better and better. So that's what I want to achieve for Deep Blues. That's what I want to help the team do.
Okay. Since you've talked about LANs, you've run a few LANs, so talk about like Long Island Splat and GSM.
So Long Island Splat was something that got kind of started back in, I want to say, August or September of last year. So it's almost been a whole year now. And after Splatoon 2 had been out for a month or two, I forget how I saw this. I might have seen it on like Twitter or something like this, but I saw this picture of like 7 people together and just like, oh yeah, we just had like a local meetup on Long Island. I was just like, what the hell? I live on Long Island. How did I not know about this type of thing? And I was just like, pointing to DJ. I showed DJ this. I was like, DJ, did you know about this? Because DJ and I live together at this point. So he lives out here in Long Island too. And he goes, no idea. But I know some of those people there. Like, I've gone to LANs. I've met them at LANs before and stuff like that. I'm just like, or like he had actually like met, at least at the very least voice chatted with some of them too. I was just like, let's go next time. Let's do this. So we go. And I think it would have been like a meetup in August. And it was just like 4 or 5 of us there this time, even less than the first one. But there was this one guy named there, Negus, or I call him Kendall. And he basically said, like, we have this awesome venue that are really willing to work with us, and they really want to get involved with Splatoon. The owners of it like Splatoon 1 and they like Splatoon 2. They play with us from time to time. We really want to do it like a LAN. And Kendall really tried to bring me and DJ on board because obviously he had known DJ for a while, and DJ had helped out running EGTV events with helping EGTV get started with their, like, he would help them out on the tech side of things. DJ knows a lot about production and audio and stuff like that. So he knew about DJ, and we could just tell from our first meeting that, like, I had a lot of experience in going to events. I knew what needed to be done to be considered as a successful, like, LAN, stuff like that. So he really wanted us to bring us on board. We decided that we wanted to do it, and we hosted our first Long Island Splat in September of 2017. We ended up having about like 40 people come out, and it was a blast. Everyone had a really good time. Turns out there's a lot of really, really, really good players in the local area. Like Power is local. Dreas, which I guess some people kind of don't really understand like how good he is, but he's a local. Fuzzy is a local. And that's just in New York. That doesn't even include like some other places that are close by, like in Maryland, like Zero from Phantom is out there. Like there's a lot of good people in the area, like within a 4-hour driving distance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we realized that we had this really good kind of opportunity on our hands. And even Eirik from EGTV actually came out for the first Long Island Splat, and he helped us stream it and stuff like that, and loaned some tech to us and everything. And when afterwards we're kind of like, we think New York would be a great place to host like a major LAN close to the airport. There's a great scene out here that'll come out. Eirik, please, like, run this. Come do a major out here. Like, here's our venue and stuff like that. But shortly after Long Island Splat, we we're kind of like, you know what? EGTV is great, and Eirik was very, very helpful and stuff like that. But what if we don't need EGTV? Not in the sense that obviously, like, again, like, they were very helpful. That's not like they wouldn't be useful, but like, why don't we just do it ourselves? So what we ended up doing was we ended up making a partnership with EGTV where we said, okay, you guys come in and you stream it because, well, I guess I'll talk about this a little bit later, but we need help with the streaming side of things, but we want to organize and run the LAN. Like we want to design it. We want to market it. It's basically our LAN. You're just coming in and doing production. And so there was some back and forth discussion with that, but eventually that was agreed upon and everything like that. And so we decided, okay, we're going to do Beacon in 2018. Going to be the first major LAN in the tri-state area, and it's going to be great. And it's going to be the first major LAN not hosted by EGTV. They were still involved, but it was not hosted by EGTV. And That worked out really well, and we realized leading up to Beacon that, okay, we can't just be the guys. Our name can't be the people that brought you Long Island Splat. That's not catchy. No one knows like that's not like an actual name. That's just like how people refer to us, right? So like let's make it like an actual name. And we decided, okay, we're gonna make like an actual org. We're gonna be like Ink TV. We're gonna be like EGTV. We're gonna run events. We're gonna run LANs. We want to do online stuff. Like, let's actually make an org. And we're kind of bouncing ideas back and forth of what our name should be, and everyone involved with GSM is terrible at names. We're awful at names. But the one idea that kind of stuck was at Beacon, we featured a new format that had never been used before for Splatoon, what we call set play.
Mm-hmm.
Set play is a lot like tennis. And in tennis, you have to win a certain amount of points to win a game. And you have to win a certain amount of games to win a set. And you have to win a certain amount of sets to win the match, right? And we took that same kind of idea and was like, okay, like tournaments have always done like best of threes, best of five, best of sevens, like best of whatever. And they just like alternate between the different modes. So it'd be like splat zones and tower control, then Rainmaker, splat zones again, and so on and so forth. Because Clan Blitz was a relatively new thing at the time that we were originally designing this. And we had this idea of just like, yes, that theoretically gives you an equal representation of all the different modes and stuff like that. But in an actual tournament setting, does that actually genuinely determine what team is the better team? And we honestly believe that no, it doesn't. We believe that what you're instead doing is having a whole bunch of best of ones in these different modes that doesn't genuinely determine and accurately determine what team is the better team. And so like, how can we change the format to make that possible, to answer that question in a different way? And that gave us the idea of set play. So in set play, you have to win. Let's say let's say it's a best of three. We call it best of three, right? So
Right.
what that means is you have three modes. For this example, we'll just do splat zones, Rainmaker, and tower control, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you play a best of three for each of those modes, right? So you'll say you play splat zones. Your team wins the first game, and then the other team wins the next two games. They win the mode splat zones, and they are now up 1-0 in the set, even though they won two games and you won one, right? So it's not so much about what games you win. Obviously, that factors into it, but it's not so much about what games you win. It's about who is more consistent for each mode. And we think that better judges the actual skill of a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are some weird scenarios that can play out where it's like, you could win, you as a team could win 4 games in a set, but the other team would win, what would that be, 2-2, 5. So it comes out to be like a 5-4 and they still win the set, because obviously there's up to 9 games, like a best of 3 times 3 is 9. So you can still have something like that, and it feels really close, but you still ultimately lose the set like 2-1 in terms of like how all the math and the numbers and like how basically you describe it sounds different. But in terms of the actual level of gameplay and the viewer experience, it is so much more tense, right? Because let's say again, like you play your splat zones, you win the first game, the other team wins the next game. It now goes to game 3. Whoever wins that next game ultimately gets the point, right?
Right.
And at that point, that one game that you won doesn't matter anymore. You're still down 1-0 in the set. So there's a lot more tension, even in the middle of the set. There's a lot more tension and pressure on for teams to perform, and you can feel it. You can, both playing in it and watching it, you can feel that. So we realized that set play was something that was very important to us, and we realized that it was very based around tennis. So we said, game set match. Let's do game set match. That's going to be our name. That's what we're going to be known as. We call it GSM for short. So we rebranded to that. We're still kind of actively working on the rebrand in some various areas, but that is the story behind Game Set Match. The team that brought you Long Island Splat is Game Set Match. Please, Game Set Match. But that's what we're called. We're not just the team that brought you Long Island Splat. We're Game Set Match GSM.
Okay. And you guys have Long Island Summer Splat happening at the end of the summer.
Yes.
So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So Long Island Summer Splat is coming up August 24th through the 26th of 2018 here. is the next major Splatoon 2 LAN, and as of this recording or this interview, the only other Splatoon 2 LAN that's coming up this year is Don't Park on the Grass in December. So there's a big gap between our event and the next event. So if you want to go to a LAN soon, this is the LAN to go to, right? And we've designed all of it, from the branding, from the colors, from everything. We've designed it to be an end of summer celebration, right? It's, even though it's a 3-day event, it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The tournament, it's only on Saturday and Sunday. Friday is going to be a social day where people can do free play. They can play other games. We're doing a barbecue. We're going to do s'mores. We have all these like amazing ideas come to. It's like literally every single LAN that I've ever gone to for Splatoon, everyone says like, "Oh, I had a great time, but I just wish I had more time to hang out with people and stuff like that, rather than just like playing the game and stuff." It's like, this is it. Come, end of summer, hang out. There's so many things to do in the area. Like, even if you don't hang out at the venue to play games with people, we got beaches, we got amazing things to see around here. We got amazing food. Like, there's a ton of things to do out here in Long Island. The venue is 30 minutes from New York City, so you can even use it as like an end of summer vacation. Like, you can do whatever you want to do with it. So, and then on top of that, we got the actual tournament. And as of right now, we got STDX signed up. We have Ghost Gaming signed up. We got Deep Blues is coming up. We got Phantom that's 3 of top teams from NA, arguably the top team from EU, all going to be under one roof, competing for that first prize, our first place prize. I honestly, genuinely believe that in terms of overall skill, we are going to rival Genesis 5. G5 was kind of known to be like the best LAN featuring like skilled teams, like the best overall skill wise. We think that we are going to rival that, potentially maybe even be bigger than that in terms of skill and competition. And also really cool, we have, STDX obviously being sponsored, but Ghost Gaming being sponsored. This is the first time that Team Olive under Ghost Gaming is going to be coming out to a LAN. So this will be the first LAN where we're going to have 2 major sponsored teams performing. That's a big landmark for the community and for the scene. So that's really cool. I mean, I like legitimately, like there's so many awesome things going on. We have our production level, the guy that runs our streams, Gen Game is the name of the company. Trevor is the name of the guy that runs it. He puts on an amazing amount of work and quality to like show off the streams. We have 2 different commentating rooms, so we can run 2 streams at the exact same time with fully staffed commentary. And now we have an analyst desk that's all decked out. And we have replays possible, so we can cut to a replay that the analysts can talk about in between games and stuff like that. And we have an amazing casters coming. We're gonna have Walkie there. We're gonna have 9 Hole Grains, community funded, to come out and attend. Eric is signed up as a spectator, and hopefully we can convince him to, commentate. We haven't talked to him about it yet, but everyone loves Eric's commentary, so we would love to have him too. So we got some of the best players. We have some of the best teams. We have arguably the best casters in this. Obviously, there are some other really good ones out there that aren't able to attend, but when you talk about the best, like, we have those people there. And we got a dedicated social day. It's literally, what more could you ask? The end of summer, check it out, please, please, please. Long Island Summer Splat. You can smash GG/LASS, and you can also look us up on Twitter at GSM_splat. All of our information can be found there.
Well, there you go. Go to LISS, people.
If you need me to talk about it more, just let me know, because I really can't say enough good things about it. I am really, really excited for this event.
All right. One last thing here. Since you've run locals, you've run a couple majors now in terms of like LAN events. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone like me who doesn't have much experience in terms of like running LANs,
right?
But is interested in starting that or doing it at some point in the future?
So the biggest thing is, honestly, just go out and do it. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. It doesn't matter if you want it to be this big thing and it ends up not being this big thing. Obviously everyone has goals and dreams when they're putting work into things, and they want it to achieve those goals and dreams. But what's most important is just going out and doing it, right? nothing's going to happen if you don't at least try, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of trial and error. So like for us with Long Island Splat, like we've viewed all of our events as successful overall, but that doesn't mean we're not learning major things of how to improve on the next one each time we do one, right? Even our local ones have really helped us grow our major lands and help those improve as well. I mean, we've only had one so far, and we're actively, getting close to our second one. But even our local one-day ones that we just focus on in the New York City area influence how we run our events. So if you don't go out there and just at least try, it's not going to grow. It's not going to happen. You can't just sit there and just wait for someone else to come around to help you out or for them themselves to do it. Just try. Just go out, put some effort into it. And yes, I understand that it's a risk, and I understand that it's a lot of work. It really is a ton of work that I don't think people understand how much goes into these things. But at the same time, if it's not you, who's it going to be, right? And you have to just kind of go out and do it. It doesn't even have to be super fancy. You don't have to have your own monitors. You don't have to have a venue. You don't have to have, headsets that everyone can communicate with. Like, ultimately, those things are luxuries. They are, I would argue, you can make the argument that they are important for a competitive focused LAN, but they're still luxuries, right? When some of these games that we see, being played, as major broadcasts and stuff like that. Let's talk about Halo. Original Halo, like Halo 2 competitions, people had headsets, but they would plug into the headsets into the TVs, and these are like old tube TVs, by the way, not these nice lightweight monitors that we have. And they didn't have microphones on them. They literally didn't have microphones that could talk to the teammates. They literally screamed at the top of their lungs over their own audio to communicate to their teammates about where they were. And that was viewed as the pinnacle of competitive back then, right? So it has to start somewhere. It doesn't have to be perfect from the very beginning. Just go out and do it, and you would be surprised if you just go out and do it and you find like a basement or like a community center, just anywhere that has some space and some outlets for people to plug into. You would be surprised how much you can get done from that. Again, I'm not going to say it isn't like a lot of work. I'm not going to say it's really easy. It does take effort. It does take time and dedication, but it's not going to happen if you just don't go out there and do it. You at the base level, you just got to go try.
I can agree with that. So we've come full circle. The story that you mentioned at the very beginning, how about we wrap up with that?
So the what story? The Halo 3 story, or the
one you said you could get to
if we had some time. Okay. So yes. So one of my favorite semi-related video game stories was when I went to MLG Columbus in 2009, my first MLG event, Major League Gaming event that I ever went to. And I was able to go with some Halo buddies that I had known for a couple of years by that point. One guy lives in West Virginia, and the other guy was from Cali, and I was originally from Michigan. So we meet up in Columbus, and we say our highs. Like it's not like awkward at all or anything like that, because like we all talked to each other for years now, so we kind of already knew each other. But it was a little bit kind of weird seeing each other in person for the first time. Like you pick up on mannerisms that you're just like, oh, like the way you say this word makes sense now, and so like those like little things. But what we ended up doing is we're like, okay, this guy from Cali didn't know that White Castle was actually a thing and just thought that White Castle was made up for the movie of Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. So we're like, okay, we got to find him some White Castle. I knew White Castle existed, but I never actually had been to one myself. So we go out in the search for a White Castle, and we're driving around Columbus, Ohio. And we drive around for a bit, and we unfortunately aren't able to find one. And we realizing that we're kind of starting to drive from a relatively nice area into maybe not so nice of an area of Columbus. And there's a Wendy's kind of right there. So like, all right, sorry, screw it. Adventure's over. We're just going to stop at this Wendy's. So we go inside, we eat, whatever, we leave. And on our way out to the car, the guy from West Virginia is driving. And this guy approaches us, and he's wearing this giant hoodie he's fumbling around in the front pocket a lot, and he's just like, yo guys, my grandma, she just got in a car accident down the road, and she needs some money for gas. And I'm sitting here thinking, who needs money for gas after a car accident? That doesn't make any sense. Like, what? Anyway, we're not from the area, and we don't want any trouble. So the guy from West Virginia, who's a couple years older than me, so obviously he's like a little bit smarter about these things, thinks, whatever, I'm just gonna give this guy like $1 or $2 to, like, leave us alone, like we don't want any trouble, type of thing. And so he reaches into his pocket to pull out a $1 bill, but as he's doing so, a $20 bill falls out of his pocket, and my friend, my teammate, and this guy both reach for it at the same time. No big deal. My teammate gives this guy $1 bill, a couple dollars. He gets his 20 back. The guy walks away. We walk to our car. No big deal. We sit down in the car. He turns it down. He's about to back out when these two guys get out of this red car that's about like 3 or 4 spaces parked down from us. They get out and they go, "Oh, hey guys, wait a second. Like, we want to ask you guys a question. We're kind of like confused about something. We're like, we're lost or something like that." We're like, "Oh, okay, sure, whatever." And they kind of walk up to the car. They both go up to the driver's side. I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and they walk up to the driver's side window. They walk up, and all of a sudden, they reach into their pockets. They pull out badges out of their pockets, quickly shove the badges back into their pockets, and they go, "Where's the effing dope?"
Oh.
And these guys turn out to be undercover drug agents, DEA agents. And they thought that we just did a drug deal with that guy because of when my driver reached down, when they both reached down for that $20 bill on the ground and they were kind of fumbling, it looked kind of sketchy to them. So they thought we just did a drug deal. So we had to explain to these guys that the driver is like 21 from West Virginia. The guy sitting in the passenger seat's 18. He's from Michigan. The guy in the back seat's 16 years old, and he's from California. And we're all here in Columbus, Ohio to play Halo in a Halo tournament. They didn't believe us. They did not believe it. So I was scared out of my mind. I was just like, I don't know what the heck's going on. I kept like offering to like show them my wallet that was in my pocket to show that I'm actually from Michigan. They were like, "Do not reach for anything right now. Do not reach. Do not touch yourselves. Like, keep your hands where we can see them." They made my driver, my teammate that was driving, they made him like, flip his hands over to show that he wasn't like palming anything or anything like that. So my first ever LAN that I ever went to, I got checked out by undercover cops because they thought we did a drug deal, and they did not believe that we were in the area to play a Halo tournament. And I remember as they let us go, they said, because obviously we didn't have anything on us, we didn't do a drug deal.
Right.
They said, "If we ever see you here ever again, we're arresting you on the spot," because they just didn't believe us at all. Obviously they can't do that, but whatever. It's like we weren't going to come back anyway. Me and the guy in the backseat were scared out of our minds. Luckily, I am so glad that the guy that was driving, his name was Mike. I am so glad that he was very calm through all that. He knew that he was a little bit older than us, and he knew that we did nothing wrong, so there was nothing to be worried about or anything like that, despite how like kind of amped up these guys were. But yeah, first ever event, and I got checked out by undercover drug agents because they thought we did a drug deal. Yeah. So that's my story.
Well, what a note to end on. All right. So do you want to promo your stuff, your Twitters and your Long Island Splats and everything else?
I am very good at this. You can follow me personally, at Dr. Prodigy, all spelt out on Twitter. On Twitch, you can follow me at Dr. Prodigy, abbreviated, so Dr. Prodigy on Twitch. And if you want to ever ask me anything science related or interested in anything that I do, those two places are the best places to go to and follow me there to see more or keep up to date with me. If you want to know more about the events that I run, again, at GSM_splat on Twitter. We post all of our updates there. We also have a Discord server. The best way to find the Discord server is to go through the Twitter. But you can also do like discord.io/GSM, I believe is the link to join our Discord server. Additionally, please again, check out Long Island Summer Splat, August 24th through 26th. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It is we 1 week left for regular registration. I don't know when exactly this interview is going to get posted, but 1 week left for regular registration. As of today being the 28th of July. It's going to be a great time. Please check it out. And of course, please, if you're interested at all in the team that I play for, at Deep Blue Splat on Twitter. A couple of us stream as well, day streams, day pronounced like day. I stream, as I mentioned, Dr. Prodigy on Twitch. And I think that is it.
And for more information on Deep Blues, go to inktv.media. And one of the top stories as of this interview is a team spotlight done on said team by Deep Blues' own and Ink TV's own Marsh.
Yes, Marsh. Yeah. Lovable nerd, and it's not so lovable.
And as for me, at TBDizMcFly017 on Twitter. Be sure to also follow Ink TV both on Twitter and Twitch, and stay connected with all of our stories that we write on inktv.media. Thank you once again to Dr. Prodigy for sitting down with me and basically discussing science, Splatoon, and everything else.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you to everyone who has been watching, and we will see you again soon for another episode where we go beyond the ink.